Here is a number that should stop you cold. 11 gigawatts. That is the amount of AI data center capacity that has been publicly announced in the United States for this year, where construction hasn't even started. Not delayed, not paused, just sitting there, fully announced, permits filed, press releases published, with no dirt being moved. The reason isn't money. The companies building these things have more than enough of that. The reason is power. Specifically, the fact that the power grid cannot deliver it fast enough, and the companies running the AI race are no longer willing to wait. So they're building their own. Let's back up for a second so the scale of this moment lands properly. Before 2020, the average lead time to order a high-voltage transformer, the kind you need to connect a large facility to the grid, was somewhere between 2 and 3 years. Today, that same transformer takes 5 years to arrive. 5 years. Meanwhile, the AI build-out is being measured in months. NVIDIA's latest chip generation sells out in weeks. Model training runs are getting larger every quarter. The economics of waiting simply don't work. And so an entirely new category of energy infrastructure is being born out of necessity. The industry calls it behind-the-meter power, or sometimes bring your own power. The idea is exactly what it sounds like. Instead of plugging into the public utility grid and waiting in an interconnection queue that currently stretches years long, a data center developer secures a dedicated power source directly on site or adjacent to the facility, connected on their side of the utility meter, not the grid's. The utility never touches it. This was a niche approach 2 years ago. Today, it has become the dominant strategy for large-scale AI infrastructure. One recent industry survey found that 56% of data center developers are actively exploring co-located or on-site power generation. More striking, AI labs, including OpenAI and Anthropic, have already signed leases representing more than 10 gigawatts of behind-the-meter capacity combined. That's 10 gigawatts that was never going to show up in a utility connection queue. What does this power actually look like? Right now, most of it is natural gas. Mobile gas turbines are being trucked to sites and deployed in weeks, essentially as bridging power while longer-term solutions come online. Some developers are pairing those turbines with batteries to smooth out supply and get closer to the clean energy commitments these companies have made publicly. But the vision everyone is pitching is more ambitious. Modular nuclear reactors, on-site solar and storage, even purpose-built microgrids that function as entirely self-contained power ecosystems. The nuclear angle deserves its own episode, and it's getting one. But the short version is this: every major hyperscaler has now signed at least one nuclear deal. Collectively, those announced commitments add up to nearly 10 gigawatts of dedicated nuclear capacity across projects from Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta. Most of it won't come online until the late 2020s or early 2030s. In the meantime, the gas turbines are doing the work. Here's where it gets interesting from an infrastructure standpoint. What is happening is effectively the emergence of a parallel private electricity economy running alongside the public grid. Large AI companies are making capital commitments that look a lot more like what utilities do than what tech companies traditionally do. They're signing 20-year fuel supply agreements. They're hiring grid engineers. They're building substations. Microsoft's deal to restart 3 Mile Island alone is structured as a $16 billion 20-year power purchase arrangement. These are utility-scale bets, and this matters for the broader energy market in ways that extend beyond AI. When a 10-gigawatt data center campus is generating its own power, it is not buying that power from the local utility. It is not paying transmission and distribution fees. It is not subject to the same rate structures that every other commercial customer pays. As more large industrial loads peel off the grid and go behind the meter, utilities face a shrinking revenue base, while still being expected to maintain the poles, wires, and transformers that the rest of the grid depends on. That's a math problem that state regulators are only beginning to grapple with. So the next time you hear about a new AI data center being announced, it's worth asking a different set of questions than you might have 2 years ago. Not just how many megawatts, and not just where, but how is it getting its power? Because increasingly, the answer is not going to be from the grid. It's going to be we're handling that ourselves. And that shift from the public grid to private power infrastructure at AI scale is one of the most consequential things happening in the energy industry